it's good fun.
So, okay, yeah, you are really welcome. It's for members of our game club. Okay, so James, you're welcome with your presentation.
Of course, thank you very much. Okay, so we have about 20 minutes. So if I don't ask you any questions, it's not that I don't care, but we have a lot of things to look at in 20 minutes. So I hope that in 20 minutes, you'll have a lot of ideas to use in your classrooms, okay? It's all about movement, this presentation, and to give you ideas about how to encourage students to move as much as possible. Because as you all know, we're online in Rome. We're in Rome right now. I'm in Rome right now. And we have been giving online lessons for the past 6 weeks. So I'm not sure the situation in Russia. I have a few students there who have been online for 2 or 3 weeks now. But as you know, we cut out a lot of the movement that we used to have in the classroom if we don't adapt our practices. Because it's very possible for a student and a teacher, it's no good for us, everyone to be in the same seat all day in front of the laptop screen. And the first question, of course, is why do we want to include movement in our lessons? What's the point of movement in our lesson? And I did a bit of reading on this. I always try to base my practices on some scientific university level research. I'm not just doing things for random reasons. And I was reading a few chapters from this book. As you can see there, it's called Teaching with the Brain in Mind by Egerton. And he talks about how still nowadays we're into the sit and git form of teaching a lot of the time, where the teacher talks, and the student sits passively and listens as if they're a glass which we can fill up with knowledge if they could just sit down and shut up. Unfortunately, that's not the case, or fortunately, but it's definitely not the case. And movement and thinking are not separate skills. So when we include movement into our practices, the movement strengthens learning, it improves memory and retrieval, and it enhances learner motivation and morale. So you might have already experienced during this COVID period that if students are seated too long, their motivation falls throughout the day, and then by the time we get to the end of the lesson, they're almost like potatoes. There's no passion, there's no enthusiasm left. So we need to be inventive, because of course the platform is designed for students to be at home. They're at home all day, so they don't even leave their house to get to the class. They're not even moving to get to the physical classroom. So we have to be inventive, and we have to try to encourage movement in the classroom. The classroom being the Zoom room these days. Okay, so how can we do that? First, here are some ideas that we can use with the camera. So this is when the camera is still on, like my camera is still on now, so you can see everything I'm doing. So all of the details here will be on my blog just after this presentation. I've written up some details of how each one works. So if we don't have time to explain it fully, or if we definitely don't have time to demonstrate them all, then please go to the blog and have a read. And if it's still not clear, then get in touch. So I've been using number 1, the fingers, 1 to 10. At the start of every lesson in this Zoom period. So, okay, the movement here is not too much, but there's still some movement. So I get the students to lift the number of fingers to represent their mood. So 8 for me at the moment. And then, of course, we use that to talk about how they're feeling, what they've been doing in quarantine during the week, things like this. Number 2 is also, it's movement, but it's not very much movement. Mouthing a word. So I might say, can anybody write this word into the chat box, please? Quarantine, very good. And nobody got it. but this is a pronunciation exercise that you can use. Okay, the rest of them are much more, there's much more movement in the rest of them, because ideas 3 to 7 involve the students standing up from their chair and using the space around them, okay? We cannot use the chair like a prison, okay? We are not chained to the chair, and students need to know that. They are not chained to the chair. So, idea 3, we're not gonna play all of these. I wish we could. Musical statues. So, do you have something similar in Russian? In Russia? Okay. So the music's playing, and while it's playing, I'm moving, dancing, you could call it. When the music stops, I have to stay still. Then I can start moving again. So when one of the student moves, you have to say, okay, Igor, you're moving your arm, you're out. Now, Igor does not just sit still and passively watch the others. Now he's one of the referees, and he will have to say, Alberto, you're moving your leg. Okay, Alberto's out. Okay, and then, so this is the language element in that game. So it's movement and also language. Of course, we can't forget that we're still teaching English. We have to combine these ideas. Okay, zoomed in, name the object. So this is one of my favorites as well. So I get students to find an object in the house. So they can move in 2 ways. They have to move to go and pick up the object. So nothing which is on their desk. Move to go and pick up the object and bring it back to the camera, or move the laptop, if they have one, to the object, okay? In both cases, they are standing up and sitting down, which it sounds small, but it makes all the difference over the course of the whole lesson. So I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm just going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to go and pick up an object, okay? All right, I'm back, and I'm going to hold the object so close to the camera that it should be difficult to see what it is. And I would like you to guess what the object is. So please write your answers in the chat box. What is this object? It's not a book, but thanks for playing. Speaker, very good. It is a JBL speaker, okay? And I've been playing that with students every week just to get them moving around, and also, you know, just introducing some vocabulary of things they have lying around the house. So again, don't sacrifice the English lesson for the movement element. We have to find ways to combine them. Charades, a classic game of charades, but I make sure students get up to perform their action, okay? We have to be a little bit inventive. A workout video, actually, I was watching Maria's presentation before this, and she demonstrated it fantastically. So if you're not as comfortable you know, inventing your own movements and leading the class in this sort of activity, then there are loads of videos online. For example, on the YouTube channel Zumba Kids, there's tons of videos ready-made. So if you're using Zoom, you can play it on your computer, and the students can all follow it, of course, again, standing up and moving around. And there's a lot of vocabulary there to do with the body, to do with movements, speeds. There's lots of vocabulary involved. And then the last idea using the camera, Simon Says. Of course, when Simon says, you do it. So Simon says, stand up. Simon says, turn around. Simon says, jump. Sit down. Okay, if I do the action when Simon doesn't say, then I'm out. But just like musical statues, you have to involve the students as much as possible. So if a student is out, then they can start to give instructions to the others. A colleague of mine, Kate, who's from Moscow, actually. Her alternative for this is the action, please, because she also tries to involve some politeness training for the students during this game. So she'll say, for example, stand up, please, turn around, please. If there's no please, then the students don't do the action. If they do, then they're out, they're eliminated. Okay. So all of those ideas are using the camera. But there's many things we can do when we have the camera turned off also. Off camera, okay? So as a lot of you are now, I can't see your faces. I imagine you're watching, not throwing tomatoes at me. But there's many things that we can do while the camera's off. So as you can see, presentation preparation. If I'm giving my students, my teenage students, for example, a presentation to do, they don't need to sit here and prepare it, okay? So remember, they are not chained to the chair. Okay? I say to them, all right, guys, well, you've got 5 minutes to prepare. Can you turn off your cameras and go and prepare somewhere else if you want to, okay? And it's very important here to set a time limit. Okay, 5 minutes. Can everybody show me their phone? Set the timer, back in 5 minutes. Otherwise you have a situation where students might not come back. There is a trust issue here. We'll talk about a little bit further on, but yeah, of course it requires some trust. But using this form of teaching, it's all about trust. I don't know if all of you are listening to me right now or if you're playing with your phones, okay? But it's a trust. It's an agreement of trust, and it's the same concept with the students. So idea number 2 off camera, web quests. Of course, we can all use our phones for the web quests. Okay, I need you to find this information online. I need you to find how much is a plane ticket in June from Rome to Moscow. So I'd really like to visit one day. Okay, all right, so you've got 3 minutes, turn your cameras off, go and find the information. Okay, get out of your chair and stand on the balcony and find the information. I do not need to be half a meter from your face at all times because I trust that you will do the work. If you don't, it's clear when you come back that you haven't done it, okay? And we'll adapt our practices from there. But the trust has to come from the teacher first in order for the student to respond to it. So 3 is very general. Any task that they don't need to be in front of the screen, any gap fill, anything that you're doing, they can be away from the camera. And 4 is a lovely one, pardon me. What can you hear, smell, or see outside? So again, if we had a bit more time, we could all do this, but trust me, this is a lovely exercise. A lot of the students will have been stuck inside all day for 7, 14, 21 days in a row, okay? So the exercise here is open the window or go out onto your balcony for 2 minutes. Again, set the timer. Close your eyes. What can you hear? Count the number of sounds. What can you smell? And then open your eyes. What can you see? So remember as much as you can, then they come back to their computers, to their laptops, and they talk about it. This is very, very relaxing also for the students, apart from getting them a little bit of fresh air. And it's sort of entry-level mindfulness training to be able to be present in the moment and appreciate all of the things going on around you instead of rushing around like crazy and not being aware of anything. So again, it has many benefits, as well as, of course, practicing a lot of vocabulary. Okay, so just to come back to the trust issue, because there is a lot of trust in these exercises particularly. If you turn your camera off, I can't see what you're doing. Look, you can't see what I'm doing with my hands anyway, but when you turn your camera off, I can't even see that you're in the room. So I have a little story to demonstrate my attitude to this. So this story is The North Wind and the Sun. So one day the north wind and the sun were arguing. They had seen a man in a coat walking along the road, and they were in a disagreement because the north wind said that he could make the man take his he could make the man take his coat off, and the sun said that he could make the man take his coat off. So the north wind blew and blew and blew, and all the man did was to hold his coat tighter and tighter. So the sun said, okay, it's my turn. And the sun shined very gently and warmed up the man, and the man just took his coat off immediately. What's the moral of that story? The moral is that sometimes we try to change students' behavior with brute force. Okay? We think this is the only way, maybe the way that we've been taught at school or not taught at school. But a lot of the time, the way to help students change their own behavior is to give them the opportunity, be more like the sun who shines gently onto them, and less like the wind who's trying to force them into something. Okay, so it's a little bit abstract, but please bear that in mind when you're thinking about activities like the off-camera activities. What I'm doing here is I'm entrusting students, I'm giving them a responsibility, and in 100% of my cases in my lessons so far, the students have responded to that responsibility by doing the tasks and working hard. Okay, it's an agreement. It's not a conflict. Once we start a conflict in which I need to see what you're doing at all times, put the camera down. Where are your hands? Where's your phone? Okay. Oh, you had your phone next to the laptop. What are you doing? Okay. Once we create that conflict, then the students, and I've got to say, especially teenage boys, will rise to that challenge and will try to beat you in that conflict. I know, because I was a teenage boy 15 years ago, and it's exactly what I did. My best teachers were the ones who trusted me, and I responded by working hard. If I was challenged, then I challenged back. Okay, and this is even more true when we're working online, so please bear that in mind. All right, so it's 20 to 2. Time flies when you're having fun. So as I said, all of the ideas and a short description for each of the ideas is on my website already, jamesegerton.wordpress.com. And as soon as I finish this this talk, I'll press publish, so it will be there, the top article. So please have a look through if there's anything that's not clear. Perhaps I have a minute or two to answer any questions now, though. If you'd like to write any questions into the chat box.